I don't know if this is a very popular opinion, but one of my number one requests for The Sims 4 is a daycare career. I have been begging them for a daycare career for years now. I have literally made videos just like this one where I pitched this idea as an expansion pack and as a game pack. And there have been multiple occasions now where I got my hopes up thinking it was finally time. And then we got Parenthood and it didn't come with a daycare career. And then we got Growing Together and that one didn't come with a daycare career. And I was devastated because it feels like after those two packs, they're not ever gonna make another pack about raising kids. That was kind of our chance and they just didn't do it. So it feels like they probably never will now. But I am not giving up hope, okay? This is my final last ditch effort pitch of a way for us to get our daycare career in The Sims 4. So I've made an entire presentation for this, and today I am going to walk you through my concept for a daycare stuff pack. Before we start, just keep in mind that these are my silly little ideas for a fake stuff pack. There is no stuff pack like this. There's no news about anything like this. I'm not kidding, by the way, when I say it's my third time making a video like this. I've made a couple videos pitching ideas for a generation style pack in The Sims 4, and we did get Growing Together, and I do like Growing Together. It just doesn't have that essence of The Sims 3 generations that I need. On here, I wrote that Parenthood and Growing Together failed us, and that's maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, but I really want to have a daycare career, okay? It's all I've been asking for years, which is surprising considering how much I used to complain about toddlers and how much we all complain now about infants. Like, why would I want a job where all I do is take care of more of them? But there's just something so special about running the home daycares. It was like my favorite thing to do in The Sims 3, and I really want it in The Sims 4. So I had kind of given up hope because we already got all of these family-based packs, but then I started thinking about how we kind of need an infant pack. We have like a toddler stuff pack and a kids room stuff pack, so it doesn't seem that far-fetched to get an infant themed stuff pack. And now they're making stuff packs again. We got the Home Chef Hustle pack. We're getting another stuff pack in the next couple of months, and I feel like actually a stuff pack is the perfect size for a career like this. I was originally picturing it coming as like a side quest in Growing Together, but the more I think about it, the more I feel like a stuff pack is a great scope for a daycare career. It's kind of like how in the paranormal stuff pack we got the new haunted house lot type and we got the new ghost hunter career. That's kind of the level of career that I'm expecting with this. In fact, paranormal is actually very similar to what I want. It has that same work from home vibe, except you're working from other people's homes, and instead of taking care of kids, you're taking care of little tiny ghosts. But you see what I mean, right? Like, this could work as a stuff pack. And also, I know that there are mods for this. I've made videos on mods for this. They're really fun, but I would love to have an official pack, an actual addition of a daycare career into the game and not just in mods. So, saying that, let me start walking you through what I think this pack would entail. Kind of like I was saying earlier, I think this is a great opportunity to have more stuff for toddlers and infants, especially infants, because they are objectively lacking compared to all of the other life states. It's not their fault. They're brand new, so they haven't had as much time to accumulate new items in packs, but I think it would be really good to have another pack with a heavy focus on the little ones. We've already got a toddler and a kids room themed stuff pack, so an infant themed stuff pack doesn't seem too far-fetched. My biggest wish list for like general items, aside from, you know, the daycare feature, would be more casts for infants, more bedroom furniture for infants and toddlers, and also just more toys and like little things for the little ones to do. But the main features of this pack would be to own and run your own daycare business. The whole gameplay focus would be on that career. I like the idea of running the daycare out of your home like you did in The Sims 3, and your day-to-day would just be caring for the children basically. But you could also design and build custom daycare spaces with this pack. I picture you being able to build like a space out in your home for like this home daycare room, and it would have a bunch of furniture and items for you to like fully flesh that out. And then of course it would have some new childcare features and new things to do with toddlers and infants. I'm thinking some gameplay items like a baby swing maybe. They could probably bring the changing table from Growing Together and also give us one here in this pack. Basically, I'm talking about like a generation stoop, okay? I want the exact daycare career from The Sims 3, but improved on and then added to The Sims 4. When I used to play The Sims 3 as a kid, all of my Sims ran home daycares, and that's not really because I loved the career. It was more out of necessity. In The Sims 3, women couldn't really work if you wanted to have kids because you got forced maternity leave. And maybe that's a good thing and I shouldn't complain about your Sims having adequate maternity leave. But I used to have my Sims always have like 5 kids because there was a lifetime wish to raise 5 kids from babies to teens. And I used to always do that one. So my Sims were pretty much always pregnant and always having kids. And then they were pretty much always on maternity leave. So they would maybe work like 3 days in their life. And I'm not kidding. And that wasn't what I wanted. I like wanted them to go to work and have a job. They just couldn't really progress that far in it when they were also having kids. So I had them run daycares a lot because it kind of just fit in with my regular day-to-day anyway. And then on those rare few days when they didn't have maternity leave, there would just be extra kids at the house to take care of. So I was raising like 5 of my own kids and like 6 of everybody else's kids. It was a lot, okay? But I did it all the time and I wouldn't always have like a dedicated daycare room. I might just have like some kids furniture in the living space. But I thought it was really fun and it's kind of a nostalgic thing for me. So that's part of why I want it so bad in The Sims 4. I wrote here that growing together only partially filled the Generations void, and I kind of mentioned it earlier. It's not just about the career. Generations was a very special pack. It was all about like raising Sims and Sims of all ages, like from baby all the way up until elder. And it had stuff like graduation and prom and all these kids activities and home videos and the daycare career. It was really, really good. And growing together isn't really like that. I mean, it's got some stuff for kids and for growing up, but it's not the same. But this video is not about that. I've made enough videos about that. This video is about daycare. So when you're running a daycare, I'm kind of picturing this career being like a cross between the freelance careers and also running your own business. Because you know how you join the freelance careers from your phone and then you have like freelance day-to-day jobs to pick. And then there's like the business owning system where you can buy a restaurant or buy a vet or buy a retail store or whatever. I'm kind of picturing some sort of mishmash of that. So I picture that you would join the daycare career through your phone, then you'd go through and place the required objects in your house, and that might be like a crib, a toddler bed, some toys, maybe like a high chair and a toddler potty. And it might not be required, but like encouraged objects, you know? And then the next day the kids would come, you'd take care of them, and then you'd get paid daily based on your star rating of your business and how many kids you're taking care of. So like the higher level you are, the more money you're making. So when I say daycare levels and like star rating, like any other career, I think you'll level up as you progress through it. And I also think that you should have a star rating of your business, kind of like how restaurants do. And you would level up and increase your star rating by doing things like maybe improving the amenities that you have at your daycare, so like the kinds of toys that you offer and stuff. And I'm thinking that you would level up by improving your daycare amenities, so like the kind of stuff that you've got at home, your friendship bar with the kids you're taking care of, the like quality of the care that you're giving the kids, and also your child care skill. And this is maybe a bad idea. I'm just throwing stuff out there. I'm thinking that this pack should have some sort of new skill. I don't really know what it would be. And then I started thinking that we already have the parenting skill from Parenthood. I feel like they could pull that parenting skill to the base game and then rename it the child care skill. I think it's probably better and more inclusive anyway to relabel it. The only problem is that the parenting skill is very tied to a lot of stuff in the Parenthood pack. So this might not work. It's just an idea. My job is just to have ideas and talk about them. It's not my job to make the pack functional. I just play The Sims and sit here and talk about The Sims. So even if that makes no sense, it's just an idea. And then as you level up, you'll get more kids coming to your daycare every day. That's kind of how it worked in The Sims 3. You start out with 2 toddlers, and then as you level up, you've got more kids coming. And I think it'll be more fun in The Sims 4 because we've got infants, and infants are infinitely more fun than the babies are in The Sims 3. So I quite like the idea of a big mix of infants and toddlers, and maybe even children coming over like after school or something. And then of course you'd charge higher rates and have more kids as you level up, so you're making more money. The day-to-day of actually running the daycare business, I feel like your Sims would come and bring their kids there at drop-off time. In The Sims 3, I think you worked from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. I don't know what it would be in this case. I wrote down 8 to 5, but who knows? And in The Sims 3, the parents literally brought their kids and just dropped them off and then left. And then during the day, you would help manage their needs, which can be kind of hard because they're not in your household, so you can't actually see their needs. It would have like pop-ups probably of them crying because they're dirty or like crying because they're hungry. Maybe you could help teach them skills and help potty train them or help get all of their milestones or whatever. And then all of the kids would leave at that designated pickup time. I'm picturing there's maybe a chance for like a parent to ask you to stay late or like there being some emergency and you having to take care of them longer. And then you just get a rating, you get paid, the day's over. Because this is all just an idea, I'm not 100% sure if it should be like a formal career with set hours or if it should be like a business where you choose to open and close when you want. I think with the nature of you getting paid hourly for the kids, it makes more sense for it to have set hours as opposed to like running a retail store in The Sims 4 and you just choose when you want to open. Because if you did that, you could just never close and then like take all of their money. But it would be interesting if you could set your own hours somehow, like have a predetermined on Sundays I work from this time to this time, and then you could choose. That might be getting a little too complicated for The Sims 4, but it's an idea. But in that same vein of like, should it be at home? Should it be at a daycare lot? Should it be a business? I kind of feel like I would prefer to run a home daycare. That's kind of the vision that I have. I don't think it would be a bad thing if they had a dedicated daycare lot type. A lot of the mods work that way, where there's like a dedicated daycare lot that you go to, and that would be cool. Like, I wouldn't be mad about that, but I'm more interested in running it from my house. In The Sims 3, I would kind of just start out by like putting some toddler stuff in my living room, and then slowly as you level up and earn more money, I would build out like a dedicated daycare space in my house. This is actually a picture of my 100 baby challenge infant room, and when you think about it, that challenge has major daycare vibes. The whole thing is like running a daycare, except they're your own children and you have 100 of them. But this, I think, is a good example of what I'm picturing that like dedicated daycare space might be like in your house. Oh, I'm very silly. I've got the slides out of order. As far as new build features go, obviously it's a stuff pack, so it's going to be kind of small, but typically with stuff packs, we get like 1 or 2 special gameplay items. So think with like the kids room stuff pack, we got that little void critter station and the puppet theater. In this case, I'm thinking stuff like that, but just for younger kids. I've put a couple pictures here of some Sims 3 store items that I used to be obsessed with. In particular, I think the baby swing is not too bad of an idea. In The Sims 3, I used to use this little toddler playpen non-stop. In this thing, the toddlers could build 2 skills. They could talk to themselves in the mirror or use these little blocks. They could also talk to each other and build relationship. And when they were in there, their needs didn't deplete. I am not kidding. Their needs would like very, very slowly go up in green, kind of to combat the needs decreasing, but you could like just use that and then leave them there and they would be fine. I don't really need it to be that OP in The Sims 4, but I like the idea of something like this, like some special gameplay stuff for the kids, but not kids, the toddlers and infants. I don't know much about children in real life, so I don't have that many ideas of what exactly it would be, because I don't know what kids do, really. I'll trust the Sims team on that one. One of the other ideas I had was for a reasonably sized teddy bear, because you know how in The Sims 4 we've got these big giant blarfy things? Those are fun, but I like the idea of like a normal sized teddy bear or like a normal sized doll, kind of like American Girl doll vibe sized toys, almost like an in-between of the tiny toys that we have and the giant blarfy bears that we have. And then as far as other general furniture goes, I'm thinking things like some new toy boxes. We don't really have that many toy boxes in the game, and I don't really like that many of them either, so I'd love to have some more stuff like this. Maybe a new high chair, maybe a new toddler potty. I would really like to have a new crib and a new toddler bed. The kids are gonna have to nap at daycare, so it's a good chance to add in something like that. And it would be nice because you could use that in just your regular house, or you could use it for the daycare. It's kind of a win-win. A couple other ideas are things like some patterned carpets, patterned wallpapers, like fun, bright colors, kids' room vibes. I was thinking maybe some doors with some kind of fun, funky swatches. The base game has that one door that has the rainbow swatch. I'd like to see more stuff like that. I was thinking about like various rugs that might be kind of fun to add in. I know all of us have played on a thing like this as children. I would love to have a thing like this. This might be kind of offensive because it's covered in cars and we don't have cars in The Sims 4, but something like that too, like just cutesy kids room type pattern stuff that we could add in. This one's a bit more simple. It's kind of like a rainbowy polka dot rug. We actually have something kind of like that in the base game now, but I wouldn't be mad about more things like this. This is a little bit more versatile because you could use that in like an older Sims room or like your living room if you need to. These are very specific. I probably wouldn't use these in my living room, but I like the idea of this sort of vibe for the build stuff. And then in Create a Sim, I don't really have like a specific style in mind. It's more just an age group thing. Yet again, I am begging them for more stuff for toddlers and infants. We really don't have a lot of stuff for infants. There's barely anything in the base game for infants. They have like a handful of hairs. So it'd be really nice to get some more hairs for infants, and they could super easily convert those to be both infant and toddler hairs. I really want it to be a heavy focus on infant and toddler cast, but I understand that it probably has to have a couple of adult things. Realistically, it would probably have a couple uniforms for the adults or something. I just don't really care about adult clothing in this pack. I want it to be very, very kid focused. And saying that, this is kind of a side note. What do you think about an infant kit. Because I'm actually not mad about the idea of like a nursery themed build kit or like an infant themed cast kit. I'd rather have a base game update or like a bigger pack that's got way more stuff in it, but I don't know if it would be terrible if they made a whole dedicated infant thing. Let me know if we should talk more about that, because I have made some videos with ideas for other kits and that was one of them, but I can dive deep into this infant kit concept if you want. Otherwise, in cast though, I don't really have like style visions. I don't have like a preference for what kind of shirt they should make. I just want another shirt. I just want more. I feel like we need it so badly. I will kind of take whatever they want to make in cast, and I trust them. The cast has been pretty good recently, so I trust your judgment, Sims team. As long as I can have my daycare career, you can do whatever you want alongside it. I say that as if they're actually making this pack. They don't care about this. They're not gonna watch this video. They don't care what I have to say about this. I wouldn't be surprised if they did actually talk about the idea of adding daycare into Growing Together and then decide against it for whatever reason. Because it had to have come up. We all talked about it. They surely talked about it. I don't know if it was like a time constraint or like a pack size constraint. Maybe it's just not really feasible in The Sims 4 for whatever reason. I don't know about the behind the scenes. All I know is I want a daycare pack. That's all I care about. It's not my job to make it work. It's just my job to sit here and daydream. Whenever I start talking about this on stream, because I do kind of talk about my daydreams for The Sims 4 on stream a lot, the two biggest comments are like, hey, there's mods for that. And also, we already have a babysitter career. And yeah, there are mods. There are some really cool mods that I've used before. I still want it in the real game. And there is a babysitter career, but this is a part-time job. It's in the base game. It's just a 3-level part-time job. This sim is actually maxed in the career. They work from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. just on the weekends. The part-time jobs are very teen oriented in The Sims 4. They intentionally work around the school schedule, and they're fun and they serve a purpose, but this is not what I'm looking for. Like, there being a 3-level part-time rabbit hole career does not equate to an active daycare business that you're running. I want to have an active, functional childcare job, but it is cute that we have this. I like it. I just don't really use the part-time jobs, and this isn't really what I want. I have actually started brainstorming some ideas of names for the pack, so I'll go through this list quickly. We've got The Sims 4 Get to Daycare, The Sims 4 Daycare Stuff, The Sims 4 For Infants, which I liked the best, The Sims 4 Preschool Years, we've got Parenting Escape, Discover Childcare. I liked that one too. Also, Dream Home Daycare, Journey Through Childcare, Daycare Lifestyle, Daycare Living. They do like to reuse their little naming schemes, and I think that some of these might actually work. I'm mostly kidding, obviously. It'd probably just be called Daycare Stuff, but I had fun brainstorming these. And I do have one final note before I go about the reward for maxing the daycare career in The Sims 3. This is almost a little bit offensive, okay? Because not only do we not have daycare, we also don't have a car. But this like daycare van is what you got if you finish the career back in The Sims 3. This picture is from Carl's Sims 3 guide to the daycare career. I used to frequent Carl's website back in the day when I was trying to decide what packs I should get. I didn't really ever have any packs, so I would like obsessively read these guides online of like all the things that came in all of the packs so I could compare them. And if you've never played The Sims 3, they did have cars, like functional drivable cars, and an open world. So this sim is like literally driving on the road right now in the car that they own, which is so vastly different from The Sims 4, but The Sims 3 was a special game. And I basically want a lot of those things that I loved the most about The Sims 3 to come to The Sims 4, because The Sims 4, she runs better, it looks better, but at times she's lacking the heart and the soul that The Sims 3 had. So I'm gonna keep making videos like this, basically just begging for Sims 3 features to come to The Sims 4. Most recently, and most important to me, I made one talking about hotels, but I have also recently talked about ferries potentially coming to The Sims 4. Again, there's no evidence of these things being real. This is just me brainstorming and making a wish list, okay? There is no daycare pack. There probably never will be a daycare pack. I just think it's fun to talk about stuff that I want to see added to the game. I'd be curious to know in the comments if you might also be interested in a pack like this, and if not, what would you rather them do? Like, what's your top stuff pack concept? It's always kind of fun to like daydream about The Sims. So leave a comment, and if you liked this video, make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel because I make a lot of videos like this, but I also just play the game a lot. But I'm gonna go now, so thank you for watching. Have the best rest of your day, and I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. I'm not kidding when I say I literally bought this sweater just so I could match my PowerPoint better, and it was a fantastic idea.